But when it comes to Derrick Henry with 106, I mean, there's only 9 players that have more than 100 or more rushing TDs, and he's got 106, which ties him with Jim Brown for 6th place. All right, welcome to Just the Stats NFL. This is my first podcast where I'm videotaping it, so we'll see how it goes. If you want to see these videos, I will be now on YouTube, which I just put all my previous podcasts on YouTube. All of those are just static, so there won't be any video to go with them. But reading all the material, it seemed like the suggestion, strongly suggested, by the way, was to get your podcast on YouTube. So that's where it is. It's another way to access the podcast. So that's a good thing. And it makes it easy for people to comment if they want to comment through the YouTube site. Also, if I can schedule it, I'll have the option of having live feedback through the chat comments. So that's something to look forward to. So, in this podcast, we are going to cover the NFL active player stats. So, what I'm talking about here is your all-time greatest players in the NFL that are active. And we'll see where they stand compared to all-time, but mostly just among themselves and who's moving up this list as the season starts. We only have 42 days till the start of the season, so not that long. I'm also working through the teams, each one individually. I'm in the NFC. I've already covered the AFC, and we're working through those. I have added a couple of features, for example, what my forecast or outlook for the team, and also I will be looking at the players, certain players on the team from a fantasy perspective. So I'll add that to the podcast, and I'll do that today when you look at some of this as well at the end. But let's get started. We'll start with the quarterbacks. And looking at the quarterbacks active-wise, obviously Aaron Rodgers is the number one quarterback. He's 7th all-time, and he'll probably easily move into 6th and maybe 5th, passing Ben Roethlisberger. He only needs a couple thousand. Actually, a little over 1,100. So he'll do that unless he gets injured, of course. I shouldn't even say that. I mean, obviously, injury always curtails any possibilities. But he won't get any farther than that this season. It's likely this is his last season, I would think. Brett Favre's 4th with almost 72,000 yards. That's a good 9,000 yards more than Aaron Rodgers, so he won't catch him. But Aaron Rodgers is first. Matthew Stafford second in the active players with 59,000, which puts him 10th all time. He's got 59,809 yards. So those are your top two. And then you got Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins right now, he's with Atlanta, but he won't be starting. Joe Flacco be starting for a while. It looks like right now it seems most of the experts seem to think he'll start the season. But Joe Flacco for Cleveland, he'll start the season, but who knows where he's going to end up, whether he'll continue the whole season or they'll get one of those rookies in there or what. Same with Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson's going to start the season, but he's playing for the Giants, and that's going to be rough. So there's a very good possibility that at some point he's pulled as well. But they're way behind. I mean, Matthew Stafford could actually catch Aaron Rodgers, especially if he plays one more year. And he's played 4 less years than Aaron Rodgers, but I've heard rumors of Stafford also retiring. So when you're going down the list, I mean, Jared Goff is one of the newer players. He's 8th right now, starting in the league in 2016. He's got a little over 35,000, but see, that's That's just a long way from Aaron Rodgers. So, with some of these players ahead of him, though, a lot of these guys are going to retire soon. So Jared Goff could be at the top. And then you got Patrick Mahomes, only started 1 year behind. You would think actually Patrick Mahomes would be a little farther up the list, considering he started 1 year after Jared Goff, but he is little less than 3,000 yards behind Jared Goff. So they're similar paces that they're going on. Maybe Patrick Mahomes a little bit ahead of Jared Goff, but not by much. But those are your top two. Then you got Dak Prescott, Josh Allen. But Josh Allen's, again, dropped way back. But he came in the league in 2018, a year after Patrick Mahomes. But he's almost 6,000 yards behind Patrick Mahomes. So same with Baker Mayfield, even farther. And then you got, again, Jameson Winston, who's a backup. Justin Herbert, but he's came in the league in 2020, so he's 16th in the NFL as far as passing yards go, and he only came in the league in 2020, which is 3 years after Patrick Mahomes, 4 years after Goff. But he's playing on a team that does not emphasize the pass, so I just don't see him moving up this list. Now, the guy that will, which is amazing that he's not already ahead, but he was injured, was Joe Burrow, who also came in same as Justin Herbert in 2020, but he's 2,000 yards behind Herbert. But if he keeps putting up close to 5,000 yard seasons, he'll make a move up this list pretty quick. But those are really your top players. I mean, there's nobody. Trevor Lawrence is 30th. He came in the league in 2021, but he hasn't had a season of 4,000 yards even. Now this season, new coach, new offensive system going into place, and he's got Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, Deontay Brown. So we could see a good uptick, but I'm not considering him as somebody that someday down the road is going to be one of the best as far as yardage goes. So right now you have a lot of the older guys, and then you've got Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff, and we'll see how they go. And Dak Prescott too, who less than 1,000 yards behind Patrick Mahomes. The big difference between the two this coming year is it looks like Dak Prescott could be the Dak Prescott of 2023 when he passed for close to 5,000 yards. So they're going to be passing a lot. It appears their running game is going to be no better than last year. And now he has more than just CeeDee Lamb to pass to. So I expect to see him just fly up this list until they get a running back or a running game at all. So that'll be something to watch. So as fantasy purposes, when it comes to the quarterbacks, well, we'll talk about that. Let's look at TDs and then their sacks. When looking at TDs, touchdowns by active players, again, obviously, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm bringing it up right now. All right. So Aaron Rodgers by far, Matthew Stafford second. Aaron Rodgers has 503 passing TDs, which is good enough for fifth all time. And he will pass Brett Favre. He only needs 5 to tie Brett Favre, 6 to pass him. He could catch Peyton Manning but I doubt it. He's not going to pass enough. I don't see it. He needs 36, 37 to pass Peyton Manning for third place. I doubt that. I mean, it's not impossible. He's done that high before, but with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think more of a run-oriented offense, I don't see it happening. But he will catch at least Brett Favre. Interesting that he he was behind Brett Favre, and now he's going to pass him. But anyway, he's number one. Matthew Stafford again, second. You got Russell, the same old guys up in the top of this list. And then Patrick Mahomes is eighth. So compared to where he was as far as yardage goes, he's ahead of Jared Goff, who was several places ahead of him in the yardage. But in the touchdowns, Patrick Mahomes is 23 ahead of Jared Goff. Patrick Mahomes has 245 and Jared Goff has 222. That puts them at 8 and 9. And then Dak Prescott's down at 11th, but 245 for Patrick Mahomes. He'll pass quite a few people here this season. He'll move all the way into 5th most likely. He only needs 13 to move all the way to 5th. He'll pass Derek Carr, which they have on this list, but he retired earlier. Joe Flacco, he'll pass all of them and move at least. He won't catch Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has 288, so he'd have to have, which is not impossible. There's 3 guys that have passed for 50, and last season 3 guys passed for over 40 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes needs 43 to tie Kirk Cousins, which was the high last season by Burrows as far as touchdowns in a season. So not impossible, but if he doesn't catch Kirk Cousins, he'll catch him definitely next year. So those are your top players. And again, there's nobody else. I mean, they drop drastically off when it comes to touchdowns. So he's really the only guy we're going to be watching when it comes to moving up the list at any speed. I mean, Josh Allen only has 195. Dak Prescott has 213. And Baker Mayfield only has 171. So, some of these guys do a lot more running of touchdowns, like Josh Allen, for example, Lamar Jackson, which makes a big difference. Now, Joe Burrow, again, he's got 140. He's in 17th. He'd be a guy to watch because he came in the league in 2020. And again, the same thing is Patrick Mahomes and Jared Goff, where Goff has more yardage, but Patrick Mahomes has a lot more touchdowns. It's a similar thing between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, Herbert has the more yardage, but Burrow has more touchdowns. So Burrow has 140, Justin Herbert has 137. So, and I don't see any difference. Joe Burrow had over 40 this past season. He had 43, I believe it was. And putting up numbers like that, he'll move up the list quite quickly. But those are the top guys. It's amazing when you look at it. I mean, Joe Burrow came in the league in 2020 as 140. So, for example, Trevor Lawrence came in only 1 year later, has 69. So Joe Burrow is on a good pace. But those are your leaders when it comes to passing touchdowns. And again, Aaron Rodgers only won in the top 10. And Matthew Stafford, he needs too many to move up into the list of those who have 400. So we'll see how he does. I've already heard rumors of some back issues, but hopefully that's nothing serious as far as that goes. All right. Let's see if we can get to well, we'll move on to the running backs here and look at the rushing yards. And obviously, just mentioning it offhand, Emmitt Smith, all-time leader in rushing yards in a career. But when we're looking at just the active players, the only one active-wise is Derrick Henry. There's not anybody close. Derrick Henry, who came in the league in 2016, has 11,423 yards. Second is Ezekiel Elliott, who isn't even around right now on a team, as far as I know. So if you discount him, who is second, Joe Mixon's would be second if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't play this year. Joe Mixon has 7,428 yards. And like I said, Derrick Henry has 11,423 yards. So it's almost a 4,000-yard difference from the first to second. Now, Saquon Barkley's third, and most likely if Mixon and Barkley have similar years, Barkley will pass him and move into third. But again, no one's close to Derrick Henry. None of the players currently playing, other than Derrick Henry, have a chance to get into these top tier running backs. Eric Dickerson's ninth with 13,259. So even that number, well, if Derrick Henry had another 1,900-yard season, he'd be up there. But that's unlikely. So if Derrick Henry plays 2 more years, though, he is definitely going to push himself all the way up into the, somewhere in the top 5 or 6. And whether he can make it all the way to Emmitt Smith before he retires, I don't know. But he has quite the work ethic and taking care of his body. But he's really the number one guy. Saquon Barkley obviously had a good season with 2,000 yards last season. And if he can stay healthy, he can move up this list fairly quickly. But with those injuries he's had, it really slowed him down as far as some of this goes. But really, they're the only ones. Again, Jonathan Taylor, he came in the league in 2020, and he's 14th on the active list. But again, he's had some injuries. It just really slows you down. You really can't miss entire seasons or most of a season and expect to ever get high up the list. Now, the most interesting character on this list, active-wise, is Lamar Jackson. He's 13th on the active rushing list right now with 6,173, just less than, only 54 yards behind Dalvin Cook, which I see him catching. So that's pretty interesting. So we'll watch how he does, but he's amazing quarterback. When he's 13th in the NFL in rushing yards, that's impressive. So those are your top players, and like I said, there's really nobody. There's some new guys that have come into the league, and we'll have to wait and see how they do. As far as that goes, Najee Harris, but see, he came in the league in 2021, so he's one of the newer players. He's 24th with 4,300 yards, but there's not even a good chance that he'll be starting this year. And if he does, how long will he be the starter with the rookie coming onto the team for? He was with Pittsburgh, but now he's with the Chargers. But he's not he's already on the non-football related injured reserve. So we'll just see what happens as far as that goes. But I don't expect to ever see him. You got to have somebody like one of the really new ones. Travis Etienne looked good in 2022 and 2023, dropped off the map in 2024. So who knows? Somebody like Bijan Robinson, who just came into the league, who's already averaging 1,200 yards a season. That's the kind of player you need who's going to be able to move up the list over time. But just something to watch. But all right, that's as far as the rushing yards go for these players, active-wise. Now let's look at the rushing TDs, see how that is. And we're looking at active players here in the rushing TDs. Again, there's not anybody close. And here's another interesting thing. Derrick Henry has 106. The only player over 75 even. Ezekiel Elliott has 74. Interestingly enough, while you had Lamar Jackson leading in the rushing yards total, Josh Allen's third not all time, but among active players in touchdowns with 65 rushing touchdowns, puts him third. And if you discount Ezekiel Elliott, he'd be second. Even if you count him, it's very possible that this next season Josh Allen passes him anyway. Right behind him is Josh Jacobs with 61. So he does have a lot of rushing yards. Well, he has rushing yards too, but he has a lot of rushing touchdowns. A lot better in that category. But when it comes to Derrick Henry with 106, I mean, there's only 9 players that have more than 100 or more rushing TDs, and he's got 106, which ties him with Jim Brown for 6th place. Emmitt Smith, again, has the most with 165. So it's going to take a few years if Derrick Henry can continue to play. Tell you what, all he needs is 5. He'll move all the way to 5th. And if he could get 15, he'd pass Adrian Peterson for 4th. He'd need 17, 18 to pass Marcus Allen for 3rd. That's as best he's going to do this season. That'd be quite a lot of touchdowns, but not impossible. So we'll see. But those are your top couple of players. And again, this is a category where there's really no one else. The one person this is really interesting, the way this rushing touchdowns go. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey would have been great, but he just has missed too much time. He's got 52. He's 11th. And you can just imagine how he would have done if he'd have stayed in the NFL. But Jalen Hurts is 10th right now. He came in the league in 2020. Josh Allen came in 2018. He's only 10 behind Josh Allen. So Jalen Hurts has 55. He'll definitely, if they continue the way they did last season, he'll definitely pass the 60 mark and be at the top, one of the top players, with only Derrick Henry really being way out in front of anybody else. So it's fascinating that you have 2 quarterbacks in the top 10, and then you still have Lamar Jackson, who's 23rd, but he's only got 33, quite a bit behind Hurts and Allen as far as touchdowns go. But that's fun to watch when you have these quarterbacks as some of the touchdown guys. Russell Wilson's 27th with 31. Kyler Murray also has 31. He came in the league in 2019. So a lot of quarterbacks on the list versus running backs. It's pretty interesting. But Derrick Henry, like I said, is just far and beyond the number 1 running back in the NFL over his entire career of active players. Obviously, in a single season, some other players do better, but overall, he has been exceptional in his career. Definitely going to be a Hall of Famer at some point. All right, so let's look at the receivers. And when we're looking at active players, well, there's quite a few. Travis Kelce's at the top of the list. This is going to be probably the best category to watch this season as far as players go. Travis Kelce has 1,004 receptions, but DeAndre Hopkins is right behind him with 984, so 20 behind. Keenan Allen, who just got picked up, but won't be an active starter in the same sense as Hopkins will be, though Hopkins playing for the Ravens, so you just don't know what kind of his reception situation is going to be playing for the Ravens. I mean, they spread the ball around. He might obviously have some big plays, but I just don't know how many receptions he's going to get in a single season. Then you have Keenan Allen, but then Devontae Adams is 4th with 957. He's in a situation where he should catch a lot of passes. Definitely, he only needs 43 to get to 1,000. But Travis Kelce probably will maintain his lead. I mean, I don't see him getting the amount of passes he got this past season. But who knows? I mean, he had 97 receptions. I mean, since 2018, he's had 92 or more receptions. That's an amazing amount of receptions per year. So if he puts up, even if he puts up 70, 80, he's going to keep this lead he's got over everybody else. Because I do not see DeAndre Hopkins, who's 20 behind him right now. I don't see Hopkins getting like 100 receptions. I just doubt that seriously. Nobody for the Ravens gets 100 receptions. It hasn't happened. So it's not going to happen this year, and especially not by Hopkins. But anyway, though, that's your top players. So there's a lot of good players at the top of this list within reach of 1,000 receptions, which is amazing when you consider that there's 10 players. Well, actually, there's 15 players with 1,000 receptions currently. In the history of the NFL, there's only 15 players, and we've got 3 players who probably, well, Keenan Allen needs 26, but 3 players that possibly will get to 1,000 receptions. Davante Adams and Hopkins definitely will. I can't see that they wouldn't. And then Travis Kelce's already there. So it's amazing. We're looking at some really incredible receivers right now. And then you've got a couple in the 800 categories. Stephon Diggs, if he makes this comeback with the Patriots, needs 43 to make it to 900. That's a good possibility if he's healthy. And then Mike Evans, which if he has another 1,000-yard season, which would set a record for most 1,000-yard seasons in a career straight through, he needs 64 receptions, which shouldn't be a problem. If he gets 1,000 yards, he'll have 64 receptions. He'll make it to 900. So they're a little farther behind. Tyreek Hill only needs 2 to make it to 800. But those are your top players. Now, these are all older players. I mean, Tyreek Hill's 2016, so he's the youngest on this list. But they're the top of the list right now. Cooper Kupp was 2017. He was moving quickly, but then injury, nobody really knows. We'll see how he does with Seattle. If he's, I don't know. I'm really hoping he has some legs still, and that the end of the last season wasn't a sign that he's lost some of that. Now, when it comes to those are all your top players, and all of them, until you get to Alvin Kamara, who's 20th, they're all wide receivers or tight ends. Alvin Kamara is the top running back with 573 receptions. So those are your best players right now as far as that goes. Looking at players that will be up on this list soon, players like CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson both came in the league in 2020. They're 1 reception apart. CeeDee Lamb has 496. Justin Jefferson has 495. Those will be 2 players we'll be watching who will someday, most likely, move up this list. And then after that, they're farther down the list, and we'll just wait and see. Amon-Ra St. Brown has 430, and he came in a year after Lamb and Jefferson. So he's on the same kind of pace they are. So that'll be interesting. Jamar Chase is farther behind, but if he keeps racking up 120 plus receptions in a season, he'll move up the list quickly. But even if he does, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and even Brown, most likely, but definitely Lamb and Jefferson are going to get 100 receptions this season. I just don't see how they wouldn't. So those are some of the ones to look for, but it really will be fascinating to watch Hopkins, even Allen, and then definitely Adams as they move up the list. Adams out of this group, he's a year behind them, 2014, whereas Hopkins and Allen were 2013. But Adams seems to have not lost much of a step. He looks like he's somebody that's ready to continue to excel for, at least, well, definitely this year, and we'll see how the next year goes. But he's the one I really am looking at down for the long haul. Now, when it comes to yards, active players, it's a little different story. Again, you have Hopkins is at the top of the list with 12,965. But again, we'll see what he does this year. Right behind him is Mike Evans. So it's possible that Mike Evans passes Hopkins this next season. He's a little less than 300 yards behind him. 4th is Travis Kelce, but he's 500 yards behind Mike Evans with 12,100. And And then Davante Adams has 11,844. So those are your top players. And again, the only one, well, really none of them. I mean, I really don't expect DeAndre Hopkins to get 1,100 yards. If he did, he could push himself in the top 12 all time. But I'm not really sure he's going to get that many yards. So he's really the only one that has a chance to make it onto the all-time list, top 12 category. But they are moving up the list. And I do see Adams playing another year for sure. Mike Evans, we'll see. He came in the same year as Davante Adams and has 800 more yards than he does. So pretty impressive. You kind of wouldn't think that, but two great players. Now the nearest one to those is Tyreek Hill has a little over 11,098 yards, but he came in the league 2 years after Davante Adams in 2016. So he's somebody that has a chance to do quite well if he can get back to those old ways. And from what I understand, listening to some of the experts, he's lost some weight. He's more focused on being a team player. And if you paid any attention to last year, he didn't seem to be a team player at all. So we'll see if any of that rings true or not. But if he could have another big season, he talked about 2,000 yards again. I don't see that. But even if he got something like 1,500, well, definitely he'd jump up this list. So we'll have to see how that really goes. But once you get past them, you got a lot of players that have been around that they're never going to make it into the top of this list at all. So again, you're going to move all the way down to somebody like CeeDee Lamb, who will someday, because he's already got 6,339 yards, but he came in the league in 2020. So, he's only 5 seasons, when you compare that to Mike Evans, who's got 10 seasons, 11 seasons, I mean, you double CeeDee Lamb's numbers. He's got the same thing as Mike Evans and still has an extra year to play. So he's somebody to watch. And he's got we talked about Justin Jefferson. Now he's even better than CeeDee Lamb by quite a bit, by almost 1,100 yards. Justin Jefferson, who also came in 2020, came into the league in 2020 with CeeDee Lamb, he's already at 20th with 7,432 yards. So he's really somebody, and he racked up 1,500 plus yards this past season. I mean, he was only behind Ja'Marr Chase in the NFL as far as yardage goes. So he'll be fun to watch. Ja'Marr Chase is farther back behind even CeeDee Lamb, but those are some of your top players for yardage when it comes to wide receivers. And again, none of them are close as, like, say, Derrick Henry is. They're closer in receptions than they are in yards right now, but we'll see how that goes after this season. When we look at their teams and the players next season, it'd be interesting to see where they stand in the all-time after this. So now when it comes to receiving touchdowns, again, this is real flip-flop here. You've already got Mike Evans and Davante Adams. They're the top two, and by quite a distance over the next players. But Mike Evans, they both came in the league in 2014, but Mike Evans has 105 TDs receiving. Davante Adams has 103. So these guys are very impressive when it comes to the end zone. In the red zone, the quarterback's looking for them. But they're already in the top 10. Davante Adams is 10th, and Mike Evans is 9th all time. Now, Jerry Rice obviously is so far ahead. He's got 197 receiving touchdowns, a huge gap between him and Randy Moss, who's 156. So I don't see either one of them catching Jerry Rice. They could make it to second, maybe. If I had to pick between the two, obviously Davante Adams, I think, seems to seems to still have more legs under him. But Mike Evans, every year people doubt him, and every year he racks up 1,000 yards. So we'll see. The only one close after that, who I'm looking at, who has a chance to really make a difference here. Hopkins has 83, but I don't count him. He's in fourth. Tyreek Hill has 82. So again, he came in the league 2 years after Adams and Evans. So he has a definite chance he needs 18 in the next couple of years to make it to 100. 9 a year, that's a good possibility. But after that, it's a big drop off. So when I'm looking way down the list again to see who's somebody that could in the future get there, who's been around not so long, it's a Ja'Marr Chase, who led the NFL in not only in yardage, in receptions, he also led in TDs receiving with 17. 17 really makes you move up this list fast. But Ja'Marr Chase is 22nd right now with 46 TDs, and he came in the league, like I said, in 2021. He's by far the person to watch in this league. He's way ahead of Brown, CeeDee Lamb, as far as that goes. And Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson would be the next one. He came in the league in 2020. He has 40. Like I said, Chase has 46. So he's already built up a lead. And I honestly, when you look at the Bengals offense and their defense, you're saying Burrows is going to be passing like crazy, just like he did last year. He had over 4,900 yards passing last season. He could hit 5,000 yards this season. And I think they're going to need him passing again, and Ja'Marr Chase is going to be there catching the touchdown passes again. So it'll be interesting to watch, but I do see that being the case. So Ja'Marr Chase with 46, obviously if he had 17 again, which would be crazy, he'd move almost into the top 10. I don't expect to see 17 this season, but he'll definitely be up this list in the top 15 after this season. Now, when we separate out the tight ends, if we just look at the tight ends, hang on a second. That was my laptop. Decided it wanted to start talking. Well, this is my first video podcast, so I couldn't expect it to go perfect. But when we're just looking at tight ends, Travis Kelce, obviously, there's not even anybody close. He's got 1,004 receptions, which puts him third all time as far as receptions go. And unless he plays at least 2 years, he's not going to even make it to second. Jason Witten is second all time with 1,228. So that's a healthy lead over Travis Kelce. He'd need at least 2 seasons. And I don't see Travis Kelce playing that long. But once you get past that, Zach Ertz, 775. George Kittle is third with 538. Half of Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce has had an incredible career. I don't see Kittle. I don't even know if he'll make it to 1,000 receptions in his career. He came in 4 years after Kelce. He needs to be a lot farther along in his pace than that. So there's really nobody active that's anywhere near Travis Kelce. So again, we're going to have to go all the way to the players that have been around for a while and see how they do. But right now, there's nobody to really focus on for quite a while. TJ Hawkinson has 382, but he's 14th. So this is a category where you just don't have that many players. He came in the league in 2019. And of course, he had a bad injury. He's had some injury issues himself. So if he could have a full year, but you have to stay healthy. So I just don't see anybody ever getting near Travis Kelce in this crop. You have Bowers and so forth, but they just have 1 year. So it's going to be years before any tight ends. And it's the same when we look at the yardage. It's Travis Kelce and nobody else. Travis Kelce has 12,151. yards. And again, Kittle, 7,380. So he's almost 5,000 yards behind. So again, there's really just nobody when it comes to tight ends. Same with the TDs. Nobody. Travis Kelce has 77. And after that, you got Zach Ertz with 53, Mark Andrews 51, George Kittle 45. So nobody. So it's a Travis Kelce show as far as tight ends go, and that's it for active players. Now, when we're looking at the defense, and we'll look at the interceptions first. This is a category where it's not even any point in comparing the active players to players from the past, because there's none of them they're anywhere near the top of the list. They're well over 100 to 150 to 200 in all time on this list. So if you're just going to look at the active players right now, Harrison Smith, 37. He's number one. But these are all older players. When I'm looking at somebody younger, somebody like Xavier Howard, he's got 29, had a good season. Even somebody like Jalen Ramsey, gets a lot of talk, but he in his career since 2016, he has got 24 interceptions. J.C. Jackson has 26. He came in the league in 2018. So somebody's been around, but right now, who's he playing for? So he's only been in the league since 2018, but you don't even see him right now who he's going to be playing for. Trayvon Diggs would be the first one who's got 20. He's only been in the league since 2020. So 5 years, he's got 20. He's averaging 4 interceptions. That's impressive. Harrison Smith, who came in the league in 2012, has 37. So Trayvon Diggs would be the number one player in the interception list right now to watch. Playing for Dallas, we'll see how that goes. But other than that, like I said, the rules have changed so much to favor the offense, makes it so difficult for a defender, anytime he, gets too involved with a wide receiver, tight end, whatever, running back out of the backfield, it's a penalty. So it makes it very difficult. So interceptions are much harder to come by than they used to be. But when we look at this, we'll see how it goes at the end of the season and see if Trayvon Diggs has got his 4 more again and continues to move up the list. Now, when it comes to something like tackles for loss and sacks, it's a whole different story. They didn't track tackles for loss until much later in the history of the NFL. So you don't have the same type of concern when it comes to that. But right now, when it comes to tackles for loss, active players, Calais Campbell has 187, and he's got one more year in him, I think. He's going to give it one more shot back with Arizona. We'll see how he does. If he could make it to 200 tackles for loss, the record's 202. So he needs 8 to tie J.J. Watt, and he needs 15 to tie Terrell Suggs for first all time. But after that, you've got Von Miller, who just got picked up. I don't expect – he's got 171. He's 16 behind Calais Campbell, so I don't see that. So, again, when you're looking at somebody who's not an older player, you got to go down the list a little ways. T.J. Watt, who just signed his record amount of money for a non-quarterback player. And congratulations to him. I think he's getting $41 million a year. But TJ Watt's 9th with 126, but he came in the league in 2017. He's 3 years behind the top 8, any of the top 8 players. Khalil Mack 2014. So he has a definite chance to hit 200 someday. Beyond him, you have Myles Garrett, who's also 2017, but he's back with 116. So he's 10 behind TJ Watt. So they'll be fun to watch, those two. And then Max Crosby has 105. These are the last ones. These are the top 15, and they all have 100 or more. Nobody else has 100 or more tackles for loss. But Max Crosby has 105, and he came in 2 years after TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. So again, he'll be somebody to watch as far as tackles for loss go. So those are some of your top players, but we'll watch Calais Campbell. Can he get 15 tackles for loss? I doubt it. That'd be something if he did, but I just don't see it. I mean, this past season, he had 10. So he's only had one season where he had more in 2018 for Jacksonville. Somehow he got away from Jacksonville. He had 20 tackles for loss. It's the only season he's ever had that many. So I don't expect to see it. If he could get 10, he would at least pass J.J. Watt to move into number 2 all time as far as tackles for loss go. So that'll be fun to watch. But other than that, we'll just see how T.J. Watt does this season. Now, T.J. Watt, like I said, when it comes to tackles for loss, he had 19. I mean, already, like I said, Calais Campbell had 1 year where he had 20, and that was it. No other year did he have even 18. He had 16 was his next best. Whereas T.J. Watt, who they kind of said had a little bit of a down year, had 19 tackles for loss. He had 19 the year before. 2022, he only had 8, but he only played in 10 games. The 2 years before that, he had 21 and 23, led the NFL. So if he puts another season where he's leading the NFL in tackles for loss, he's going to fly up this list. And we'll see how Myles Garrett, who also got a huge contract, we'll see if he can keep up with TJ Watt this season as far as that goes. And we'll watch Max Crosby too. Let's see how he did. Max Crosby has had already in his much shorter season, he's never had less than 13, and he's had 23. In 2023, he had 23. Last season, a little bit of a drop-off. He had 17. But very impressive total for him. He's averaging a good, healthy amount as well. So there's a few players who are going to continue to move up, and I don't see Terrell Suggs, who set the record in 2019, I don't see him holding it for a long time. I just don't see it. I don't know how many years it's going to take, but TJ Watt signed this contract another 3 years. He might get there. He might have to go a little longer. We'll see if they can make it. Max Crosby, another one to watch. Those are your top players when it comes to tackles for loss. Now, when we're looking at sacks, this is an interesting category, and I always talk about it if you listen to my other podcasts. 1960, they have an unofficial sack list, and in 1982, they had an official. But Von Miller has 129 and a half. He's the number one active player. Cameron Jordan has 121.5. And then J.J. Watt, well, he's not playing now, but those are your top 2 active players when it comes to that. T.J. Watt has 108. So he's really the only one currently. Myles Garrett has 102 and a half. So he's just behind him again, just like he is in tackles for loss. But those are your top 2 players right now. And they're the only ones that have a chance to get up this list a decent amount. None of them are close enough to catch Michael Strahan, who is 6th all time with 141 and a half. And we'll just watch and see how that goes. But Bruce Smith, official or unofficial, holds the record with 200. Only player with 200. it'll be years before any of them even have a chance at that. But we'll watch and see. Health is a big issue with these guys. But it's fun to see how they do. TJ Watt will definitely make a move up this list because everybody in front of him has been around a lot longer than he has. They're not playing that much, if at all, anymore. So, Cameron Jordan's been around since 2011. I just don't see him putting up the amount of sacks that TJ Watt's going to put up, or Myles Garrett. But those are your top two active players right now. So that's a look at these players. When it comes to some of these players and when you're looking at their fantasy outlook, I think what I'll do with that is save that till I get to the teams, and we'll look at that as a separate category because I kind of want to cover who's going to be a fantasy standout this next season. As we get a little bit closer, that'll be a podcast I'll come out with in a few days. So I'll save that for then, but I appreciate you hanging in there for this first episode that I've videotaped. We'll improve the video and the quality as we go. But after that, we'll just continue on. We'll be looking forward to the season starting. I will be getting back to another team from the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings, in the next episode. So we'll look at them. So feel free to contact me. I appreciate if you like or subscribe. Check out the YouTube channel. I have all my past podcasts there as well if you want to look at them or listen to them that way. But you can find them on Apple, Spotify, other places. Appreciate that. And until next time, that is a wrap for this episode of Just the Stats NFL.